Hey backpackers, this is Juan from Juan Backpacks. I'm here today to start a series I'm going to call JMT Tested. It's a series where I'll be looking at the gear that I took with me on the JMT. My son and I did it this past spring of July of 21. And we hiked an extra 2 days in. So we did about 250 plus miles because we had to approach from the south to the north. We did northbound. And so I wanted to kind of do a review of some of the gear that I took with me and what gear worked, what gear didn't work, and just kind of let you know how things went and give you some information that might help you as you might be planning some type of a thru hike in the future. So this is JMT tested. Our first JMT tested piece of gear is a backpack that I've owned for 3 years. And that is the Gossamer Gear Mariposa. It's a staple. It's a highly rated backpack across the board. I really liked it. I love it because I also fly fish, and so it gives me the extra capacity I need if I carry ultralight base weight to add in extra gear for fly fishing when I want to take, a fly rod and some real tackle with, a bunch of tackle with me. And this bag gets it done at 60 liters and the additional pockets on the outside. So let's do a quick overview of some of the features of the pack, and not all of them. I just want to kind of run through the ones that I kind of like. And then I want to talk about how this pack performed for me on that thru hike of the John Muir Trail. And here we go. So features first. So basically some of the key features are the outside front pocket, lots of room in there. I found I could stuff all kinds of things in there, little items, like I kept my poop kit in here. I kept my sandals in here that I used for camp sandals, and a bunch of other stuff that I just wanted to keep handy or just needed a little place to stuff something. So this stretchy front pocket was awesome. It's got 2 side pockets here, one up top. I usually put my cook kit in there, so it was handy when we got to camp. And then the bottom smaller pocket, I put 2 smart water bottles in here, plus I could fit my Be-Free filter squeezed down in there, folded up as well. So all my water stuff went in this pocket. On the opposite side, there's a longer pocket, and that was the pocket where I kept my Gossamer Gear 2, which is a 2-person shelter, and it fit really nicely into that pocket. I was able to, at times when I needed to, carry my trekking poles. It's got 2 little, almost like D-rings down here that are designed to put the points of your trekking pole into, and then you could strap it or secure it to the top of the pack. And so at times I did that. It also has a loop on here for your ice axe. We didn't have to use that. Obviously not a lot of snow in the winter of 21, and so we got off pretty easy there. Didn't need to carry extra weight in an ice axe. The other features, well padded strap here, and I could connect my Garmin Inreach here pretty easily. And then the pad, the removable sit pad, is in here. It's still in great shape, and so it was none the worse for wear. And like I said, I've had this pack for 3 years, and everything is pretty much still holding up nicely. So let's talk about how it performed. Number one, let's talk about like maybe wear and tear, like things that happened to the pack while we were on our thru hike. And again, this pack was 3 years old before we left, and it had 0 wear and tear on it, nothing going wrong with it. Everything is working just as it did when we left. The zippers are working on the pockets here on the hip belt. Both zippers work fine. It's got 2 big hip belt pockets that were really handy for phone and food and so forth. And so when I'm looking across the pack, even the bottom of it, there's no real wear and tear there. And I wasn't necessarily very easy on my pack. I didn't really baby it at all. I didn't really even think about it. I just used it and put it down, picked it up, and hiked and did whatever I needed to. I never really thought twice about how I was treating or maybe mistreating the bag. And so it really looks pretty good overall. The one thing that did happen though was that here on the hip belt, and I don't know, maybe it's because my waist is bigger, I have no idea, but there started to be some wear here, and I'm sure you can kind of see that there. Some wear from one of the stabilizer strap here that goes up to the top or the strap, the shoulder strap where it crosses the hip belt, it was rubbing the hip belt, and it did it on both sides of the pack. And this side even is starting to fray a little bit from the wear. It's not terrible, and I mean, it's still usable. And I'd put some tape over top of this, like some tenacious tape or something like that over top of both of these, and I'd probably just keep using it for a while, and I don't think it would really matter. So that, to me, is pretty minor. I mean, it's 260 miles plus another like 2 years of use on top, 2 to 3 years of use on top of that, where I didn't have any of these wear issues. So it really wasn't that bad. The other cool thing about this is, or the good thing about this is, you can buy belts for this for, I think they're between $25 and $30 in that range. And I'll put the price up here someplace in the video when I look it up. But they're pretty cheap. And so if I did wear through a belt, it wouldn't be such a big deal. To me, it's tougher when you wear through parts on the pack, you tear the pack and things like that. Then it's a little bit more of an issue, right? But the hip belt is removable, and it can be replaced if it wears out. So that really was the only thing in terms of wear and tear in that 260 miles, 250 to 260 miles that really I saw with this Gossamer Gear pack. As far as the packing the gear in capacity and so forth for a through hike like that, my base weight is pretty low. For that trip, it was like just under 13 pounds. So I carried a full BV 500 bear can in here, and my sleeping bag and everything. I carried the shelter. My son and I were on this trip, but I carried the shelter, and so I was able to fit all that gear in my pack with ease. I had plenty of room. I didn't even have to expand the top at all, or use use the very top of the pack a lot. And so everything worked out really good with this pack. The other comments I would have on this pack, your back's gonna sweat. I don't know that it's really horrible though, because you're sweating anyway. I mean, it was hot out there some days, and I don't know that I really felt like my back was like heated up. I don't feel like my back was any more warm than the rest of my body was when we were really hiking and exerting ourselves. But some people don't like that, and honestly, I didn't notice it, didn't really care much. Yes, my back was sweaty and the pad was wet and stuff like that when we stopped, but it really, to me, wasn't such a huge deal. The only thing that I noticed about this pack was that I had a really hard time dialing in the adjustments. It's got a frame in there, a minimal frame that ties into the hip belt. And the only thing that I found with it in those 260 miles is I just couldn't seem to get the right adjustments to it to get it to carry the weight. Now, I was carrying probably about 26 pounds at max. When we picked up our biggest resupply at Red's Meadow, or not at Red's Meadow, at the Muir Trail Ranch, it was at its heaviest, and I weighed my pack on their scale, and it was 26 pounds. So let's just say, it's kind of 26 to 28 pounds on here, because the scale, I don't know how accurate it was. So when I was that heavy, I really had a hard time kind of adjusting the weight and the load, and it didn't quite feel as comfortable as I thought it could feel, given the adjustments and given the frame and so forth. What ended up kind of happening was, like, one of my shoulders would get kind of worn out, like the bag would kind of shift around a little bit on me, and I just, one of my shoulders would get kind of tired because it seemed like there was a lot of pressure, and I would adjust around my bag, and it just didn't sit right on my hips. It may be because I felt like maybe, even though I ordered the right size, technically for my measurements, I feel like because of whatever with my body shape and so forth, probably the shorter version, this is a medium, probably the shorter version would have worked better for me. I've been measured for my pack size, and I'm at 19 and a half, and by the sizing of Gossamer Gear, this should work. But I'm one of those people, I know that everybody's body is different. Your shape different, your structure's different, you stand different, you walk different, and so I tend to think, honestly, that was probably a function of, probably should have went down a size in the pack, and I probably would have been able to fit it out a little bit better. So that was the only thing. I just couldn't get it to carry quite the way I wanted to carry, where I felt like the load was more on my hips. And so I played around with the load adjusters. I played around with how tight to make the straps. I played around with the belt and how it sat on my hips and so forth. Again, I don't know that was really an issue with the pack, because I know a lot of people that have this pack and they actually feel like it carries really well. And I think it may have been a sizing issue, and I might be an anomaly in the sizing world. So as much as I like this pack, if I'm doing just a through hike without fishing, I knew, which I'm going to do the High Sierra Trail this coming year. I've got permits for that now. So I'm going to do more of a through hike than a fishing trip. I will definitely take some Gossamer gear, but more of a through hike. And so I wanted to go to a different pack. So I'm not totally ditching this pack, but I might get in a different size and try that, because I really love the pack and what it does. And it just, how to say, the way it carries is not wildly problematic, but I just felt like it could carry a little bit better. And so what I did was I went on Gossamer Gear's website, and I actually got and I'll do a review on this one, but a changing of the guards now, a little bit of changing guard. I got a G420, and I only bring this out now. I'm going to do a video on this G420, and I haven't used it in the field yet, but I'm going to do a video on it. But one of the things I noticed, I loaded this down with all my gear, and I put a Bearcan BB500 in here, and it fit, and it all fit fine, perfectly fine. Everything's great, actually. Which surprised me, because that's a 60-liter pack. This is a 40-liter pack. But one thing I noticed when I put 10 pounds of bottled water inside the BB500 to simulate my food, and I just walked around the house a couple days, quite a bit. Just cleaning and walking around the house and so forth. And I noticed this carries a lot better. And I also noticed that it seems to be, even though it's a medium, it seems to fit my body where it's shorter and it rests on my hips better than the Mariposa does. And so I think it's just a body type thing. I'm not a slender person, but the medium G420, the sizing feels really good, and the way it carries the weight felt really good to me. So I'm really glad that I got the G420. Again, I'm not dissing the Mariposa at all, and I keep saying that because I'm not. I just think, everybody's different. Everybody has a little bit, it's like when you buy a pair of hiking shoes, and I was involved in sports at a high level for a long time, and certain gear, you try one type of gear and it just doesn't work for you. Then you try something else and you're just like, okay, this is it. This is the piece of gear that I needed. And so this definitely carried a lot better with weight and so forth than the Mariposa did for me. So I'm going to go with this, and I'm probably going to either keep the Mariposa or swap it, not swap it, but get a smaller size in it, because I really feel like it was an issue with the pack in me, meshing rather than the actual pack itself. I really do. So anyway, the G420 is the new kid on the block from Gossamer Gear, and I'll be trying that out, and I'll be, if all goes well, in some, shakedown hikes this next few months. I'll be taking this on the High Sierra Trail. So anyway, that's my packs, backpackers. Look forward to more JMT tested stuff in the very near future. And, until then, try to get out and do some backpacking. It's about 15 degrees here in the Northeast where I'm at right now. So backpacking is a little tough, but I know some of you guys are tough and you'll do it anyway, or gals are tough and you'll do it anyway. But anyway, get out there and do some hiking, see some stuff, and see you next time.